Our first term which we have to understand is the democracy term. Everyone in this class who is looking at this lecture will have a fair idea about democracy. When you talk about democracy, actually if you break this word democracy, it is made by two words. Simple words are demos, and there is another word that is Kratos. If we take the meaning of demos, demos means people, and Kratos here means rule by people. So this, if you add up both these terms, demos and Kratos, this becomes rule by people. A system where actually people are at the center. A system where people are having all the ultimate power. And if we talk about democracy, if we look at the definition of democracy, in the world, there are more than 1,000 definitions of democracy. But the easiest one is that you have to remember. So you must be knowing about Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln, the president of US, gave the easiest definition of democracy. He told that democracy is by the people, it is for the people, and it is of the people. As I told you that in democracy, always the people will be in center. Always the people will be center of anything and everything. That means the government is by the people. The people have been, we have chosen some people, we have elected some people, and they have made the government. They are at the helm of the power. The people is, this government is ruling over some people, and this government is working for the people, for the welfare of the people. You look in the country India, there is a government that is working for you, right? And who is in this government? People from our society, some persons who have been elected from our society through elections, they are going and sitting in the center, and they are ruling over us. And who has given them this power to rule? We the people has given this power to rule. So that means we are at the center of everything. And that is the easiest definition of democracy that is present to us. So Abraham Lincoln told that by the people, for the people, and of the people, that is the very definition of democracy, and that is the easier definition of democracy. Although this definition of democracy given by Abraham Lincoln is not correct in every case, because technically, if we see democracy, there are a lot of things that will come. So when you are studying with the respect of political science, democracy will be different. There you have to see many more things. But when you are studying for this with respect to the Indian polity part, there the democracy is very restrictive, and you just follow the very basic principle of Abraham Lincoln that you are seeing here to the people. Now, by this definition, you come to the point where you understand that in democracy, if you look at the ultimate power is with whom? The ultimate power will always be with the people. That means whenever you talk about democracy, the first thing that should come into your mind is the ultimate power that is resting with the people. Now, in our world, we see many kinds of democracy. Let us first understand that, and then I'll come to the principles of democracy. So when you look at the kinds of democracy, so most famously, there are two kinds of democracy that you famously see. One is called the direct democracy. Direct democracy, as you see in the case of Switzerland, where all the decision making is done by the people itself. And how this decision making is done by the people? People are giving referendums. People are taking part in the referendums, where all the people are directly taking some particular decision. So that is a very totally different system that we are not following in India, because such a big population like India cannot follow this system. Can we do referendums in every case? Can we do all the decisions through referendums? That is not at all possible for India. But when you look at the Indian system, this Indian system is the system of actually indirect democracy. Why indirect democracy we had followed? So how this is exactly done? So this indirect democracy actually works through representatives. What you have done, you have chosen some representatives among yourselves. Suppose we are 5 people here. And what we have to do, we have to choose one of the person as our leader. And this person will rule for us, will represent us at some place. This is ruling through representatives. And this indirect democracy through representatives is also called representative democracy. So in your paper, you might get a term indirect democracy, or you might get a term as representative democracy. So in countries, and most of the countries are following this indirect democracy. You look at the system of India, for example. You look at the system of USA. USA is also representative democracy. They are also, some persons are representing the crowd. Then you look at the system of UK, they are also representative democracy, that means indirect democracy. And there is one more term that can be asked in your exam that is very famous nowadays, that is the term of constitutional democracy. Now what is this constitutional democracy? This is very simple, as the name is suggesting you. The name is saying constitutional democracy, which means there is a book, there is a constitution, which is the grand norm of all the law. That means this is the basic law of the land. And they are just following that particular constitution, and they are establishing a democracy. That is the constitutional democracy. And here also, if you have to write an example, you will write an example of India. As we have a written constitution in India, we can say we also follow constitutional. We are also a constitutional democracy. And this is one of the most important democracies of the world, one of the most sacrosanct democracies of the world, India is. How? Because through this constitutional democracy, you know what happens? Some rules are set for our country which cannot be changed. And likewise, what happens that none of the organs of the government can become arbitrary. Like suppose there is a PM in our country. PM is a part of executive. Whatever PM wants, he cannot do in our country. He has to justify in parliament. He has to justify the people. And who is sitting in parliament? The representatives of the people is sitting in the parliament. And where it is written that he has to justify the parliament, it is written in your very constitution. So till the constitution is being followed, till this kind of democracy is there, no arbitrary power can be made. No power can be segregated at one place. So this is one of the very important forms of democracy. So we can say that in India, we can look at both these concepts together. In India, we are looking at constitutional democracy also, and we are looking at indirect democracy also. And this indirect democracy, the second name for the indirect democracy is the representative democracy. And now if you see democracy, if we chart out democracy or we compare democracy with some of the very famous forms of government, one very famous form of government I am taking, let's describe this. So suppose we are describing democracy here, and if I compare this democracy with dictatorship, you must have heard about dictatorship. And if you must have heard about dictatorship, one name must come into your mind, that was Adolf Hitler, because he was one of the most known dictators of his time, right? So if I see democracy and I compare it with dictatorship, so first of the comparison I can do on this is on the basis of source of power. When we look at the source of power, who is the source of power in case of democracy? The source of power is very simple. Here I told you that always people will be at the center of everything. People are going to be at the center of all the things. Just remember the definition given by Abraham Lincoln: for the government, for the people, by the people, of the people. So always people are going to be at the center. And here dictatorship, one person will always be the source of power. And if you remember what happened when Hitler came to power. When Hitler came to power, one thing that he did was that he changed the constitution of Germany. Then he put fire to the Reichstag, that is the parliament of Germany. Why he did this? Why he changed the constitution of the country? So that the power can be segregated. The power can be accumulated at one place. That is why he just changed the constitution of Germany. And he segregated all the power to himself. Because if there will be a constitution, if there is going to be a constitutional democracy, then dictatorship can never come. That is why he did the same thing. He did the first thing was to change the constitution of Germany. So in the source of power, when you are going to look, so always people will be at the helm, and in dictatorship, only one person is going to rule. Now in terms of right, if we talk, if we talk, you look at our country. You look at the number of rights we are giving to citizens of our country, or the non-citizens even are having some of the right in our country. So for example, let's take an example of the fundamental rights in our country. So we are promising fundamental rights in our country, although these fundamental rights are not absolute. There are some restrictions that are present on the fundamental rights, but we are at least giving these fundamental rights. And here in dictatorship, rights will be very minimal, or it will be on the whims and fancies of the dictator. Like you see, in case of Hitler, in case of Mussolini, there were many other dictators. You see in the case of Idi Amin, very minimal rights or none rights at all also can be done. Then if you move further, if you move ahead, if you look at with respect to the change of government, once a government is formed, how this government can be changed. If you look with this term, so here the government can be changed regularly. How government can be changed regularly? Through elections. Through elections the government can be changed regularly. But in dictatorship, the government is either changed by violence, that suppose everyone, all the country comes up together and they go against the dictator, like it happened in Italy with Mussolini. So they killed Mussolini and his girlfriend. So why? Because people were very, very angry on Mussolini. All the bad things he did in Italy. So people were very angry and people were not accepting Mussolini, so they killed him. Or one thing that can happen, like it is happening in North Korea, that hereditary changes going on. So likewise, this democracy and dictatorship can be compared. So here you are finding in this particular system, the problem is, the good thing is that in democracy, people will always be in the center of everything. And when the people will always be in the center of everything, so what will happen? That people will get rights, people will rule, and people will always work for the welfare of the society. Here the welfare is a secondary thing. It will never be a primary. It can be a primary thing. Suppose if a dictator is a very good person, which happens very less because you know mankind. So the dictator, it happens that for the dictator, his own whims and fancies are the primary thing. The welfare of the people is the secondary thing. And that is why whenever you look at a dictatorship, that country is not so developed in sense of rights. It might happen that that country is very rich. It might happen that that country is industrially very powerful or militarily very powerful. These things can happen. But that country will never be, that country can never be rich in terms of rights. That country can never be rich in terms of individual rights or collective rights or minority rights. But here in the system of democracy, always not only fundamental rights, but you see, we have taken care of minorities also. In all the democracies you see, we have taken care of minorities also. And why this has happened? Because of constitutional democracy we are. And finally, in terms of law, if we see, we will find rule of law here. And in the dictatorship, the rule by one person again. So the dictator's word is the law itself. Hitler's word is the law itself. Hitler sent many and many people, many youth, many young boys of 12 years, 13 years, 15 years of age to the war. At that time, and in Second World War, he started to lose. Why? Because his whims and fancies were there. But here, a rule will apply. And what is this rule of law? This rule of law is the most basic feature of our democracy. Whenever you have to find that whether a democracy is in a particular country or not, the first thing which you are going to look is the rule of law. Why you are going to look rule of law and what is this rule of law? Look, when we see rule of law, what we find that this rule of law means that law is applying equally to everyone. Let's take an example. Suppose you have a PM of our country. And when you look at the PM, he is also coming under the Constitution of India. He is also coming under BNS. He is also coming under CRPC. The same laws are applying to the PM also. The same laws are applying to me also, and the same laws are applying to you also. That means rule of law means that equal law for all the individuals of the country. That means this application of law, they are talking about the application of law to all the individuals equally. That is the very concept of rule of law. Although we are going to do this concept is actually A.V. Dicey's concept, a big philosopher which we'll see. And we are going to discuss this rule of law concept in Article 14 very much in detail. But because this can be restrictive also, and this can be a liberal principle also. Although, will not go to that extent, will not go so much advanced. For understanding the basic term of rule of law, you just think about application of law to the individuals equally. That means even the PM, even all the ministers of your country, all the permanent bureaucrats, you people will become bureaucrats, you will also come under the same law. And we citizens, normal citizens of the country will also come under the same law. Even the people who are not the citizens of our country, who are living in our country, the illegal immigrants, the peoples, there are some laws that are applying to them also. They will also come under these laws. So these are very basic laws of our country which is applying to everyone. That is the rule of law. That means law will prevail at the end. No matter what, no matter who you are, the law is going to prevail at the end. And when you are going to discuss democracy and when you are going to check democracy, whether this particular country is a democratic country or not, you will, first thing which you will see is the rule of law. You go in India, you look at the system of India, law is applying on everyone equally. India is a democratic country. You look at the system of Britain, law is applying equally to everyone. Yes, they are a very democratic country. You look in US, law is applying equally to everyone. It is a very democratic country. This is the first principle which you are going to check. Next principle which you are going to check when you are checking whether there is democracy in a particular country or not, you will see that the decision-making power is with the representatives or with the people. Either it can be with the people, as I told you, in a direct democracy, the decision-making is with the people directly through referendums or plebiscites. And in the indirect democracy, the decision-making will be through representatives. So either it will be with representatives or either it will be with the people. And once the decision making is with the representatives or with the people, that is the second condition of a democracy, that satisfies the second condition of the democracy. Third and very important condition is the free and fair elections in that particular country. And most of the countries which call themselves democracy today fail this condition of free and fair elections. Now, why this free and fair election is very important? Because again, if someone is at the helm of the power or someone is in the government and the people of that particular country are not happy with that government, so they need to change that government. And how they can change that government? Only through elections in a democracy, in a representative democracy. Only through elections they can do that. If you are not letting the elections free and fair, then you are actually segregating the power again with yourself. You look at the system of Pakistan, there no free and fair elections is there. So can you technically or practically call Pakistan a democracy? No, you cannot call Pakistan a democracy. Technically and practically you cannot call Pakistan a democracy. I don't call Pakistan a democracy. Yes, it says itself as a democracy. Even China says itself as a democracy, but China is also technically and practically not a democratic country, not a democracy. Because the government is not giving options to the people. People should have options in a democracy. Whom to choose? Which party to choose? There should be multi-party system. Now in some of the countries you are looking at one-party system. People don't have choice. There is one-party system. When you're looking at the multi-party system, like in India, there is BJP, there is Congress, there is Aam Aadmi Party, there is BSP, there is SP, there is DMK, there is AIDMK. All the parties are there. You can choose any person from any party, right? So that is giving options to the people. So that is very important here. That is free and fair elections, which most of the countries are failing. And at last condition which has to be satisfied is the value of your vote. Now you are seeing that whenever elections are being conducted in a country, your prime minister is also going and standing in the same line where you are standing. And when your prime minister is going and voting, his value of vote is 1, right? And when you are going and voting, your value of vote is also 1. This shows that equal value of vote is there. No matter who you are, your value of vote will be same as my value of vote. But remember, this system is only followed in direct elections. Now again I have come to some direct and indirect thing, which I will explain you in detail when I will teach you elections. But for now you just understand that when you look at elections in our country, it is 2 types of elections are there. Either it is a direct election or it is an indirect election. In very simple terms I am telling you this. Either it is direct elections and either it is indirect elections. What is the difference is very basic. When the normal people like us, like you, who are looking at this lecture and who is 18 above, when all the persons of 18 above are going to vote, this is called direct election. Very simple. And when all the representatives only can vote, that is indirect election. Very simple. Like the president of your country is elected by whom? The representatives of the country, the MLAs and MPs. So that is an indirect election. Like who is electing the MPs of your country or MLAs of your country? We the people are electing them. We go to vote. So whenever we vote for the Lok Sabha and whenever we vote for the Vidhan Sabha, this is what? This is actually direct elections. This is actually direct elections. So when I was referring to direct elections, the meaning of direct elections is this. So in a democracy, the indirect election in a particular country, the value of vote should be equal. The value of vote should be equal. So whenever you will write this, you will write this, so you will always write that in a direct election, the value of vote should be equal. Should be equal. Because equality cannot be brought in representatives in the indirect elections among the representatives. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you how, and I'll tell you why. When I'm teaching elections, there I will teach you how the value of vote is counted. And when I'm teaching you the president's election, there I will teach you that how the value of vote is counted and why it is different, why the difference is there. So that means when you understand democracy, you will look at 4 conditions. The very first condition will be very simple. The very first condition is going to be that you will check whether the rule of law is there or not. Second thing which you are going to check is that whether the final decision-making power is either with the person, with the people of India, with the people of that particular country, or with the representatives elected by the people of that particular country. Third thing which you are going to check is the free and fair elections. And then fourth thing you are going to check is the value of the vote. These are the 4 checklists. And if a country tick marks all the check boxes, then that particular country is a democratic country. That is the indication. Like you see in case of India. So is India following a rule of law? Yes, very good. If we see at the decision-making power, the representatives are having the decision-making power. If you look at the free and fair elections, yes, India is satisfying the free and fair elections. Very fair elections we conduct in such a big democracy. And if you look at the value of vote of India, the value of vote is 1. What PM votes, that is 1. What we vote, that is 1. So value of vote is equal in that case. So India is a democracy, USA is a democracy, or UK is a democracy. Can Pakistan be called as a democracy? Technically and practically not. Can Iran be called as a democracy? Technically and practically not. Why? So this will be very IR type of question which I'm asking you, but you should answer yourself that one question I'm asking you, you should answer yourself, you should find this answer. I'm calling Iran not a democratic country due to some reasons. Now you should answer this and you should find this answer. Why Iran is technically not a democracy? You go and write this on Google that Iran is technically not a democracy, you will find the answer. So this is all for democracy, and this is all that you need to discuss in democracy. Now I am moving forward to the other concept, that is the concept of constitution.